Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Back to the Blockbuster with your hosts, Gaius and Jackson, episode 95. What's up, buddy?
Oh, you're looking at it, my man. To be honest, I gotta just preface this episode by saying I'm like hella excited for all the new, like the stuff that we gotta cover this week, especially trailer wise. Probably the most exciting trailer week that we've had since I've joined the podcast. I'm really excited to get down in the nitty gritty and discuss what dropped this week. It was, although we have a lot to cover to explain why we won't have a whole lot of news coming up,
Yeah,
we still
yeah,
got blessed with a lot of good news items to discuss. Amidst the ongoing writer strike. So what, looking forward to chatting today. Beyond that, I had a pretty light last couple of weeks of movie watching. So beyond that, I mean, got lots of Better Call Saul in, been breezing through
nice.
that show. But not a whole lot of watches. But yeah, what's new with you? What have you been watching? What's new in your life?
Well, I want to point out too. I love that you love the trailers that we're going to cover. I think two of them are loving to cover. I think I threw in one last one that you're like, oh, okay. So
No,
at least, unless you are excited for that one.
a super pleasant surprise, I gotta say. Like the first time I'd seen it was after you threw that in there to cover, and I just got done watching it, and man, I gotta say, I'm actually pretty hyped for that one. So it was 3 for 3. Really pumped to
Nice.
cover these
All right.
trailers today. Yeah.
Oh, by the way, too, Jackson is talking to us from a brand new computer right now. He like messaged me over the
That's
weekend
right.
that he's like, when we record on Monday, I will be recording from my freshly bought brand new computer. So he's
100%.
extra fresh today.
Nice and fresh. Everything's looking and sounding great. And yeah, had to update the hardware. So yeah,
Nice,
we're rocking with a new Mac. Loving it.
nice. I was late on watches too. Like, I was so busy like with hanging out with friends and stuff. I didn't get to see Guardians of the Galaxy, and like, it was weird because I usually rush out to see almost every Marvel movie. Like
Mhm.
usually on the Thursday. Like, here's what happened with this one. I got invited to a press screening the week before on a Friday, but it just didn't work out timing wise. I couldn't do it.
Right.
So then I was like, all right, let's try for Thursday. So, because sometimes I go with my little brother on Thursday night when I get out of work. But
Mhm.
then I looked at the runtime and it's 2.5 hours. And when I get out of work, it's
A
like
hefty one.
9:30. And I was like, I don't want to come out of the theater that late.
I
But
don't
then I
blame
was
you.
like, all right, let's shoot for Saturday. And then Saturday, my friends were like, oh, we're going to the beach. And I was like, all right, let's shoot for Sunday. And then, more plans happened. And then I
Of
just
course. Life
didn't
gets
get
in the
around to
way.
see it. So maybe I'm having my own Marvel fatigue that I didn't like rush out to go see it, even though I've heard great things about it from most people
Hmm.
that they really enjoyed it. The box office is really interesting for it. You know, came in lower, much lower than what I predicted. So
Okay.
that'll be interesting to discuss. But yeah, I kind of felt a little bad that I rushed out for Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania, and I didn't rush out for this. But I was busy with friends and like didn't
Hey,
really have
yeah,
time to
you
like.
got a life outside of the theater too. That's totally understandable. Don't be too hard on yourself, but you think you'll still end up going to see it in theaters or what?
Yeah, I definitely will. I mean, I'll make
Mhm.
some time this week to go see it because I've had heard great things, and I actually do. I think of all the standalone Marvel properties, I think Guardians is probably one of the best
Oh,
that
100%. I'm with
in
you
the group.
there.
In the
Yeah.
group, so yeah, I will check it out. I just kind of felt bad because I was like, what, I should, Monday podcast episode, I should be like, yo, I saw Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. This is how great it was. This is what I liked. This is what I didn't like. And no, I don't have that for you guys today, just because I just didn't have time to see it, and then you didn't see it either. I mean, like, so
That's
like,
right.
but you're not like a huge like Marvel person where you're like, oh, I need to go see that right now.
That's right. Exactly. So
But
no
I did,
surprise really there.
yeah, I did fit in. I've been still been watching Gotham on my free time over the
Nice.
weekends.
Catching up to that.
Yeah, I'm almost out of season one. I'm just like, I can't wait to get into season two because that's when things get really good.
Right. Right.
Um, and then I also I watched a few episodes of Welcome to the OC bitches like podcast, but they have it on YouTube as well.
Okay.
Because I was like, we're gonna do a 20th anniversary episode in August for this, so like kind of like want to see what they're talking about. And it's interesting how they have Rachel Bilson and Melinda Clark who are stars in the show, and they bring in like different guests that were like a part of the show, whether it be like a guest star, other cast
That's
members,
cool.
costume designers, people who were in charge of music, writers. The creator's been on there several times, and it's just interesting because like Rachel Bilson, even though she played Summer for all 4 seasons of that show, and she's only like what 42. I think we talked about that the last time we
Right.
brought her up. Doesn't remember a lick of filming that show. She'll be like, I was watching the episode and I was like, I don't even remember what happens. And like when like I was like, how do,
What?
and it's crazy. Like, I was like, how
That's
do
the
you
first
film
I've heard of
something?
that.
Yeah, how do you film something that long and you're like, it's like there was like one big plot point that she didn't remember, and I was dying laughing because Melinda Clark was like, "How do you not remember? This is like a huge. You were
Ye-
in this. You were in the scene. Like, how do you not remember?"
That's so
It's like,
strange. I've never heard of this phenomenon. Like, obviously not having like been in any like productions before, I wouldn't expect how that would go. Like, I've rewatched things many times and have forgotten big parts, but you'd think being in something that you would remember
yeah,
how it
I
unfolds.
I would
That's
I feel
funny.
like if I was an actor, I would remember most of like, especially like
Yeah,
if it was triggered by rewatching it, right? So
big
you're
time.
like, oh, I can kind of
I
recall
know where
being
this
on
is
that.
going.
Yeah, I can recall
Yeah,
being on that set or on this location, like, even if you don't remember every single detail, like, but it's just funny.
that is crazy.
there's been several episodes I watched where she's like, did not remember this happened.
Uh,
so
yeah.
it's like she's basically has been rewatching it much like a fan would rewatch it, where she's like almost like a new viewer, even though she
Mm.
started the show and was a part of it.
What an interesting little experience that must be. I always think it'd be so cool to watch something that you've starred in. I know there's like some, especially like you hear a lot of like the method actors, people that take their careers very, very seriously. Some of them don't watch their stuff. I think Joaquin Phoenix is in that pool where he doesn't watch
Yeah, a lot of actors don't
his
watch
movies.
themselves. Yeah,
Right. I can get maybe if you're like super critical of your performance and your work, I can understand that. But I think it would be still cool, especially to be there at the premiere. It would definitely be nerve wracking, but I've always thought like that would be cool to experience, like watching your own work on the screen with other people. I think that would be really fascinating.
yeah, I think so too. And what's interesting too, like some actors, like you said, will walk the red carpet at a premiere and then skip the screening and then
Right.
go like to the after party thing or something after that, because a
Mhm.
lot of actors really don't like watching themselves. It's
And
uncomfortable.
I
I
can
mean,
understand that.
I
Yeah.
can say like kind of get nitpicky. Oh, I wish I would have made this choice differently or done this or done that. Like, so I get
Totally.
it. But yeah, a lot of big actors that you love their movies, and you find out that like either they haven't watched it in a very long time or they've never seen it. But I
Right.
mean, their experience was just making it, and they enjoyed making it, and they know that it was good based on like the script they had, or the time they had making it with the director or whatever. But
Right.
like a lot of them haven't seen like the finished product, and that's crazy to me. I would at least want to see it once. I mean, maybe even if I was like
Oh, even
nitpicky about
privately,
like,
like by yourself. Yeah.
yeah, even if, yeah, like you said, even if you don't want to watch it with a big crowd, like at a premiere or something like that, like if you want to watch it alone, I mean, I'm sure you can get your
That's
own
fine.
screener of your movie.
Yep.
So, but yeah, yeah, I think I find that interesting. So yeah, yeah, the Rachel Bilson stuff was hilarious to me. And then other than
That
that,
is
yeah,
funny.
yesterday I hung out with Owen for the first part of the day, and we were just going through Netflix trying to figure out what to watch. And the comedy The Dilemma was like number 3 or number 4 on Netflix top
Oh,
10 for
okay.
some reason. It's from
Interesting.
2011 with Vince Vaughn and Kevin James. Jennifer Connelly's in it, Winona Ryder, Channing Tatum. I remember this movie vaguely,
It's quite the
but
cast.
like,
Yeah, me too. I
yeah,
never saw it, but I've seen the thumbnail many times on Netflix. It was like, oh, what's that all
yeah.
about?
And then
Huh.
like Queen Latifah's in it randomly.
Oh,
Just
was it any
keeps up.
good? Did you
I
guys
actually
watch it?
thought we did watch it, and I thought it was like surprisingly like not bad. Like I didn't know what I was
Oh, okay.
expecting from it. There is a little bit
Right.
more like drama, and it is a comedy, but there is also some light drama in it. And when I looked it up on Rotten Tomatoes, I was like, I wonder what this has on Rotten Tomatoes. Well, it has a
Mm.
24% on Rotten Tomatoes and
Ooh.
a 29% audience score. So like a lot of people didn't like it, but like I guess
Okay.
the critics complained that it didn't really mesh like some of the comedy bits with some of the like
More
more
dramatic
dramatic
parts.
bits.
Yeah.
But I actually thought it handled itself well. I mean, yes, granted, feel a little like past its prime Vince Vaughn kind of movie. It's not quite like Wedding Crashers level or anything. Um,
No.
but
Yeah.
Vince Vaughn is just always a reliable comedic presence, and he's just Vince Vaughn just talking is funny because like
That's right.
I feel like he's just himself. Like he knows how to like deliver like really rapid fire dialogue, and there's a lot of that in this movie. There was one scene in particular that Owen and I were like dying at because like it was just classic Vince Vaughn. And then Channing Tatum, like his role at first, I was like, why is he in this? And then towards the end, he had more to do, and it was kind of like a funny little extended kind of cameo almost. That was pretty
Okay.
fun. And I know this was 2011, but Jennifer Connelly, we were mentioning this because I thought this when I saw Top Gun Maverick. I feel like she stopped aging in like the early 2000s. Like she looks great and hasn't
Totally.
aged at all since like A Beautiful Mind. Like she just stopped. And she looked great.
Absolutely.
She looked great in that movie. And I was like, well, that was 2011. And I was like, no, then Top Gun Maverick, that was last year. Even though I know it was filmed earlier than that, but
Yep.
like she still looks great. And good for her. Yeah, I just want to give a special shout out to Jennifer Connelly and her ageless beauty.
Age is like a fine one. Yeah, age is a great way to put it. She's beautiful and timeless. And I
Yeah,
want, yeah, whatever she's got, I want.
yeah,
Her and Tom
exactly.
both. Honestly, that's funny that they star in the same movie because they both are on the secret sauce, the
Yeah,
ageless sauce, whatever it
yeah,
is.
for sure. Like that's what I kept thinking that. And also, I know she has an Oscar. Owen made a comment too, and I agreed with him. She convincingly made you believe that she was in love with Vince Vaughn. Like
Oh,
there would be like
okay.
a look she would give him, or like when they were in scenes together, it wasn't like it didn't feel forced. Like you like, I mean, of course on his end, of course it's Vince Vaughn, like, and it's her, but like you're
Yes.
looking at her, looking at him, like you bought it. You bought that
Okay.
she like was into
Hallmark
him
of a
one.
great actress.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, she does have an Oscar under her belt, so like, probably not
Remind
too
me
hard.
again. It's not for Requiem, is it?
No, oh, I wish so. No,
Ah,
for Beautiful Mind. So
oh, it
like she went
isn't.
for
Oh,
that.
okay.
Yeah,
Which,
yeah.
which I actually watched like again like less than a year ago. You'd think I'd remember that she'd won
Yeah,
it for that, and she is great in it.
it's been
That
so long
movie's
since I watched that movie, man.
so honestly it holds up awesomely. It was an awesome watch. I know I just said awesome like four times in one sentence. That I'm so guilty for using that
I'm gonna
word
keep
too
a
much.
tally, running tally.
Take a shot every time Jackson says awesome, and you'll be
Yeah,
wasted.
when they cut your sizzle roll, I was like, find out many times he says awesome, and then just put it into his into
There
his
you
sizzle roll.
go. It's I guess clearly a favorite adjective of mine, but
Yeah,
gonna work on my vocabulary here. That being said, though, the movie is amazing and held up really well on rewatch. She's great in it. Russell Crowe was awesome in it. Ed Harris, fantastic supporting role, and blanking up Josh. What is his name? You know who I mean from Ford versus Ferrari.
oh,
Josh
why am I
something.
bugging?
You know what I mean?
Let's.
He does the voice of the Home Depot commercials.
I
Do
know.
you have
Wait,
those
hold
in the
on.
states?
Yeah, we do. We
Yeah.
have a lot of them actually. Yeah.
What?
I'm
Okay.
looking at it
Yeah.
right now. Oddly
Um.
enough, this is a good callback because we were talking about Beautiful Mind. I forgot to mention The Dilemma, also directed by Ron Howard, who also directed A Beautiful Mind. When his name,
Oh, no way.
when his name popped up, I was like, a little random Ron Howard movie to direct.
I had no idea that was Ron Howard at all.
I think we're thinking of Josh Lucas, who
You are
is
totally right, Josh
yes,
Lucas.
we got Josh
He's a
Lucas
great little actor too, and he's got a
for the win.
good part in that movie too. Yeah, and he has a great voice. Like I remember, he's been I think the voice of like the Home Depot commercials for like at least years now, multiple years. And it wasn't until after I got a rewatch of Ford v Ferrari in last year that I was like, and then I heard of a Home Depot commercial a few months later. I was like, I know this voice. That's Josh Lucas. What the hell? So yeah, a little shout out to him. That's
Probably get
awesome.
paid like a nice little penny to do that too. Just so, like
I'm sure he does.
simple voiceover work for commercials. Like yeah, in between
He's got the
acting
voice
gigs.
for it.
Nice, good
Yeah,
for him. But yeah,
yeah, no, that's a great movie.
I was talking with you before we got on that there's not like a ton to cover, which we can have a little bit more fun with this episode. It's a little bit more loose and not as
Mhm.
strict as like the last few where we've like had a ton of stuff. But the
Right? It's kind
main
of
reason
nice.
that we haven't had a lot to cover is because of the ongoing writer's strike,
Yes.
which we kind of pulled. We pivoted a little bit with the deep dive because we talked about the writer's strike with Owen. I did ahead of talking about Insomnia, and the only reason we
Okay.
did that was because we mentioned the writer's strike the previous week, and they didn't make a decision about the overall strike until after we had recorded our episode last week. So
That's
I
right.
just wanted to I put it ahead of the Insomnia stuff, the deep dive, just so like we were on top of
Understandable.
bringing it up. But yeah, I mean, it's no one's budging so far. And I think a little bit about it, just the overall, what's
The
going on,
gist.
what the
That's
writers
right.
want, frankly, what they deserve at this point. And you know what? This was one of the things I thought about. They keep saying that they offered the writers a reasonable package with significant raises and blah 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 blah, right? And
Hmm.
I was just thinking, what I want to know what was in that package that they thought was reasonable that the writers were like, no, it's not. Like that's not gonna work for us
If
either.
specifics weren't mentioned, I'm thinking that's probably for a reason.
Yeah,
That's always interesting when you hear that a deal was proposed, but you don't actually hear the specifics. It's something maybe they didn't think it was as nice as they thought it sounded. But as far as figures, I'm a little bit in the dark. I know that something of like 98% of like writers in Hollywood make the minimum compensation rate for their work, and that's been the case for a long time, and they're looking to have that upped. But
yeah.
as far as what's been proposed, what they're even asking for, I'm a little bit in the dark there. But what can you tell us about that?
So the big thing that is a huge issue is that they feel like they're almost working as if it's like a gig economy where they're like almost like if you're a staff writer on the show and you're writing consistently for a TV show week after week after week, you should be paid as if you're on staff, not like, here's per script kind of thing. And it's very
Okay.
low kind of amount to begin with. And then the issue of residuals and compensation from that comes into play, which is different from the syndication era, because now we're in the streaming era. And I brought this up with Owen because one of the things they say is like, well, this is a brand new business model and we can't quite gauge like, the level of success and what we can pay out because of like streaming success, right?
Mhm.
Which I kind of call bullshit on, because I agree with
Hmm.
what the writers say. The writers are like, you guys pump out billions of dollars worth of content all the time. We
Mhm.
see what revenue you're bringing in. So it's not a brand new business model that you can't gauge the success on. You can, because we see it.
That's right.
And that is what they want to be treated fairly on. Like they want, as far as like their shows that they've written that are constantly being streamed on Netflix, Apple TV, HBO Max, any of those,
Right.
they want a piece of that money, because it's like, I wrote it, I created it, it's being watched by millions and millions of people. You brag about how well some of these shows are doing, and we're not getting a piece of that.
And really, the script, the writing is the very first thing that's ever done on a project. It's the foundation, the skeleton, if you will, of any work. So it blows my mind that writers have found themselves in this situation. You'd think that they would be overvalued rather than undervalued, but I guess this is not how reality is. But strange to
Yeah,
me that that's how it works.
yeah, it's strange to me too. And what's crazy is, some people were like, how bad is it, as far as like why does everything have to stop production? Because if you agree, I mean, you're part of the guild and you agree to strike, it's pencils down like right away. You
Right.
can't even be on set, because if you're on set, there's the
Whoa.
illusion. There's the illusion as a writer, if you're on set, that you might, if someone needs a rewrite, you might be tempted to do that. There's a lot of like, and there's also like the solidarity of like, no, we're not going to be there to help move a production forward if you don't want to pay us
Right.
fairly, and that makes sense. So if you're wondering why things are completely shut down, that's why. Because like showrunners can't be on set. Some shows are bravely going ahead without showrunners or writers on set. So, for instance, when I tagged you in that post about the Game of Thrones, like House of Dragon,
Mhm. Yes.
still moving forward with season 2. Yes, the scripts are done, so technically they can film. But let's
Yes.
just say while they're filming it, they're like, "Well, this doesn't quite work." They can't go in and rewrite it. Like they are
Right.
going to have to
Until the
go
strike
with
is over.
until the strike is over. So they're just gonna have to go with like what they have. The same thing is going on with the Lord of the Rings show, which scripts are done, but their showrunners and writers aren't going to be on set. And since that is such an expensive endeavor, actually they both shows are, but Lord of the Rings that we know is a real expensive endeavor.
Yeah.
I don't
Billion
know if I
dollar
would
tagline. Yeah.
I don't know if I would want to risk it without having a showrunner or writers on set to be like, hey, like this isn't working. We need to fix this and change this. Doesn't seem worth it to like risk that, since
Well,
I mean, it already had, especially that show already had a questionable first season that some people didn't necessarily love.
say most people. Yeah, I'd say it
Yeah,
didn't even seem like the writers were in tune with that show to begin with. So, from my perspective, it doesn't seem like much will even change going forward in that show because they didn't have a whole lot to pick from in the first place.
yeah.
So, I'd be curious to see how that affects season 2 of that show, if it'll be better received or kind of just around the same. But
Yeah.
I can't do any worse than I don't think than season 1, especially on a project with a tag or a price tag that large. You'd think that it'd have been
I,
much more successful than it was.
dude, Amazon
That's a whole
has
conversation.
two very expensive shows. I haven't watched Citadel because it got awful reviews, but it's a very expensive show because it costs like $300 million to
What are
make.
they doing wrong? Why are they
Well,
doing that to themselves?
I don't know. Well, in Citadel's defense, they did renew it early for season 2, and I think a lot of people did watch it. It has huge international potential, but at a certain point, it's like if you're spending $300 million on a product that is
God.
creatively kind of flawed, and nothing against Priyanka Chopra Jonas, she's lovely, and
Of
Richard Madden. I
course.
know a lot of people love Richard Madden, Game of
Love me some
Thrones.
Richard Madden. Yes.
They, I've always said this about her too. I think that she is a pretty good actress, but she hasn't found like the right project yet. I mean, I think it's great that she came over from India and she was like a big Bollywood actress over there, and then
Okay.
she didn't really like how that system was working, which is why she came here to act
Okay.
here. And then she got a big show. Well, it was kind of big. Actually, let me dial that back. She got a show called Quantico on ABC when she first got here.
I didn't know she was in that.
It
Okay.
was popular in the beginning, but then the ratings kind of slid once they like moved it around to different days and stuff. But she was well received on that show though. But
Okay.
since then she was in Baywatch, that Baywatch movie with Dwayne Johnson and Zac Efron,
Oof.
and she's just in this movie called Love Again that came out over the weekend that bombed. Has like a lot of Celine Dion songs in it, and I guess Celine Dion has a,
Uh,
I guess she's like a muse of some sort in this movie. Correct me if I'm wrong, anyone listening. I didn't really look into it too much. I know she has a cameo in the movie, but like, yeah,
okay.
she's one of those people. I'm like, hey, like you deserve a better project, and I'm not. And I guess like for her, because I saw her in a talk show today, she liked Citadel because it was a female spy lead, and she was a co-lead with of equal measure with him, and she wasn't like the tech girl or like someone like that. She was, she's
Right.
on the same level as him. So I see that appeal as an actress. If you like, I get to kind of be in the big leagues along with this other guy who's my co-lead, and also to her credit, I think because Jennifer Sulke runs Amazon and is a woman, they actually worked it out with her and Richard Madden are getting paid the same amount of money to be on that show.
Awesome.
So that,
Good.
very unheard of, a lot of
Very
times in
much so.
Hollywood. And also, this show is doing something that a lot of shows haven't done. It has like all these like kind of spin-offs that are like one's in India, one's in Italy, that running separately, but they are connected somehow. So I get the appeal like
Hmm.
on paper, but I read so many reviews. I actually collected a bunch of reviews for CBR to write a story about it because they were like, "Oh, it's getting like wrecked by critics." So like,
Oh no.
I mean, but at the end of the day, if it's being watched by a lot of people, does it really matter? But also, when you spend $300 million on a project, do you want it to get wrecked by
Well,
critics?
I'm so surprised to hear you say because I saw a couple of the trailers for Citadel, even like just at the theater. They were screened ahead of time. I think of when I was, what did I see? Oh, I saw Sisu actually in theaters. I didn't
Okay,
mention that earlier, but that was great. I'll get back to that later. But they showed the Citadel trailer there. And I mean, for all intents and purposes, it looked like it was a pretty decent, spy action
action.
thriller show, but it also looked like something that we've seen at least 10 different times over the
That
years
was my
since the
first
Bourne
thought.
era.
Yeah,
Why is this
when I first
$300
saw it.
million? Dollars?
Yeah, when I first saw the
What?
trailer for it, I was like, "This looks like it's been done before." I mean, like,
Didn't
yeah,
look
yeah.
original in the slightest.
And does it make you question? I mean, I know a lot of people have brought this up because this comes from the Russo brothers, and the Russo brothers
Forgot about that.
did a bang up fucking job with the MCU, and then their like post MCU stuff is kind of questionable. Yes, I mean you get like, why am I blanking on like the Chris Hemsworth
Standout traction.
Extraction? That was good,
Yes,
and
that's a
they were
home run
part
in my book. But
that.
they're
But
only
then
executive producers.
yeah, and then they did that movie Cherry with Tom Holland, and that was
Mm,
that he was good in it.
right. And the
But
movie, not so much though,
it
eh?
has some issues, and yeah, and then now this show. I mean, they're supposed to be like the go-to guys for like action. That's what Priyanka Chopra actually said today on her during her interview. And I don't know, man. It's just a lot of expensive razzle dazzle with, I guess, not
Did,
enough quality to it.
so did they direct Cherry or executive produce?
They directed it, or at least
They
one of them did.
directed.
Yeah,
Okay, yeah.
and I think they had a hand in the script too.
Okay, yeah. I think their problem is they need to be in the director's chair because well, they did a great job. I think they found a director in Sam Hargrave who did the Extraction movie. Extraction or
Yeah,
Extracted?
extraction,
Extraction, and
extraction.
he's
Yeah,
doing the second one. They found a director in Sam Hargrave that they gel well. Clearly, he can handle competent action at their direction in the executive producing role. But
right.
it seems like maybe for this one, this probably would have been a project that maybe if they had a little bit more hands on it, would have been a lot better. But yeah, I just couldn't believe that you'd said that this was $300 million because it just didn't look like that new or original or like that it would need that sort of funding behind it. But maybe because of this whole international spinoff sort of thing, that would definitely inflate the budget. But can't say that is looking like a win in Amazon's books, especially following Rings of Power's $1 billion kerfuffle that was.
Yeah,
I think they're a company that if they're not careful with their next few moves are really going to have to start re-strategizing what they're putting their money towards because pretty sure they had to sell Yellowstone to finance Rings of Power if I'm not mistaken. Like I can't see why else they would have gotten rid of one of their flagship shows at
script show. That's crazy.
peak. They got rid of that to Paramount, and I can't see why
Wow.
else they would have done that if not to throw that money towards Rings of Power, which was a bad move if you ask me and plenty of other people.
Yeah.
But that's
So
interesting. I did not know that.
just note to self, for instance, Citadel, $300 million. If Citadel was in the middle of the
Yes,
writer's strike and all their scripts were finished, I'd be like, yo, we're not moving forward without the showrunner or the writers on set, just in case. This is
100%.
a $300 million like endeavor that we can't afford to screw up. So
1000%.
that's a good example of that. And I mentioned it on the last show with Owen, but I can mention it with you too. Like what gets affected like right away. Right
Hmm.
away, it's late night TV. So like that's
Right.
already in reruns because
The
they're
first thing to go
yeah, they're topical and they have to write,
on a
daily.
weekly basis or daily
So
basis. Yeah.
Tonight Show starring Jimmy Fallon, Jimmy Kimmel Live, Colbert, The Daily Show, Real Time with Bill Maher, all that already went dark.
Gone. Right.
TV shows now. The good news is that we're towards the end of the TV season, so all that is already wrapped, right? So the TV shows that you're currently watching are probably about to have their season finales, or they already had their season finales on network TV. The downside is a lot of the writers' rooms for next season started in early May, and now they're shut down, so they can't
Oh,
write.
right.
So if it goes on too long, like we said, the last strike 15 years ago was 100 days.
Hmm.
So if it goes on too long, then it pushes the fall TV season back because writers are not writing anything. So
Hmm.
basically, the writers' room starts around early May. By the time actors come back from hiatus, there's a bunch of scripts ready to film around like late July, August, and then you have your fall TV season beginning sometime in September. But that can't happen if there's no scripts being written.
Right.
So
No
TV,
pre-production being done, no
right,
filming, and then everything gets pushed.
right. And for my mother here, since she wants to know about her soaps, so soap operas are what we see on screen are about 4 to 8 weeks, depending on the show, ahead of like where they're actually at.
Okay.
So you have if you're a soap fan, you'll have a lot to look at for the next 4 to 8 weeks, unless they want to decide to maybe throw reruns in the mix to kind of hope that they don't have to burn off 4 to 8 weeks worth of shows in hopes that maybe this ends earlier and they could still be like kind of on point with what they intend to film.
Right.
But if it goes on longer than that, then that'll affect those shows too. And in terms of movies, most of the stuff that we have coming out summer wise, fall, that's
This year at
fine.
least, that's all
Yeah.
set. Right.
Now there is questionable stuff towards the end of the year. If you're talking like December,
Okay.
if there's this, let's say you had a press or let's say you have an early screening and you get feedback that like, oh, this scene doesn't work, that scene doesn't work. If it requires a rewrite, you won't be able to have it.
Right.
So you either go with what you have and release it
Mhm.
as scheduled, or maybe you push it back. And if we're talking like early 24 releases, if it goes on too long, that were in the middle production or have to like maybe they're just about finished but they might require a rewrite, those release dates could change too if it goes on too long.
Right. So we are potentially facing a big push of some of next year's movies, and we're already seeing at least a few, right? Like you'd mentioned, Netflix's final season is on halt right now.
With
Uh,
Stranger Things, yeah, so that's a
Netflix, what did I say? Netflix, yeah. Stranger
yeah,
Things, yes.
that's a huge one. Yeah,
Right.
and they actually, the Duffer Brothers, as they're called, I guess,
Yep. Mhm.
who created the show, they actually put out a statement about that. It's not something that they want to do, but they want to.
Of course.
They can't move forward with production because they want to stand in solidarity with writers, and it's not possible to get that out in a timely fashion without the writers being in there. So
Right.
that's one that gets hit right away. Blade, MCU Blade, which is already been delayed a few times, is now delayed again because the
They're in the
writers
middle of a
strike.
rewriting process, right? Yeah.
Yeah, so they can't do that. I'm
Another
actually
hit
looking
to the
up right.
MCU.
Another MCU hit, Daredevil Born Again production was suspended after striking writers picketed Disney Plus series, so they shut down production as well. And I think I saw some other ones. Yes, Billions shut down production. Severance shut down production as well. There's another
Oh,
Game of Thrones
okay.
spinoff that was going to start production that I guess might have a writer's room that is shut down. Cobra Kai, which is also going into its final season, shut
Okay.
down. Abbott Elementary shut down. Yeah, all these things have paused production
That's a
because,
yeah, it's a lot.
and if it goes on longer, you're going to hear even more of these, which is unfortunate. And
So
like, and it's affecting TV quicker because it's just the way the timing it is
of
right now.
course,
Like
yeah.
a lot of big movies are already like kind of in the can, so like we at least will have that content coming out. But yeah, I mean, I mentioned it on the show with Owen too. I mean, this it shuts down the entire production. This is everyone that works in that industry is out of
Is
work.
if that's right.
Costume designers, places that you would go get your props from. No one's going to get that kind of stuff right now. Grips aren't working right now either. Catering, it affects every
That's yeah. You know
aspect.
what?
It affects every aspect of the production. So there are a lot of people not working. But I guess the good news is that SAG, the Screen Actors Guild, DGA, they are all in solidarity with the Writers Guild too, and I think that's a big
Perfect.
plus. That's a big plus. There are a lot of actors who have actually joined some of the writers when they were picketing outside of Paramount and the Netflix offices and Sony Pictures, Warner Brothers. So there's that. I think that's a good sign that maybe like, hey, of these directors and actors that you also need to kind of be a part of these things is standing with them.
Right.
Maybe they'll move things along quicker. I mean, Owen
Fingers
kind of
crossed.
Owen kind of convinced me while we were recording that he thinks it might last longer than 100 days. I hope the more we talk, the more I could see that being the case, because it seems like they're like digging their feet and saying like, like not wanting to give them exactly what they need.
Okay.
I want him to be wrong, but I kind of see it happening.
I'm thinking initially that more than likely they'll come to a compromise. I can't see them getting everything that they're asking for, or else that set the precedent that, and we might see strikes more common. Usually they're going to meet somewhere in the middle, at least I would expect. But I was going to ask you and follow up and see, is it too early to tell how long we think this might go on? Is it just really anybody's guess at this point?
It's a little
Anything that
too
points
early.
to an answer?
A little too
Yeah.
early to tell right now. I mean, this is tomorrow. I guess it'll officially be a week. So we're entering week 2 right
Right.
now. Yeah, I think it's too early to tell. But I
Mm.
also want to give more insight because I have the whole list of stuff that just in case people are interested in what isn't moving forward right now. So, A Knight of the Seven Kingdoms, The Hedge Knight. It's a Game of Thrones prequel series. It
Oh
closed its
man.
writer room. It closed its writer room for the duration of the strike, says co-creator George R. Martin. Something called Bunked, filming on season 7, has suspended amid the writer's strike. Evil is a Paramount Plus show. Production on season 4 shut down Friday, May 5th, amid all the picketing outside of Paramount. MTV Movie and TV Awards, which aired yesterday, uh, they pivoted to a pre-tape ceremony amid the writer's strike, and talent pulled out of the show in support of the movement. Drew Barrymore was also slated to host it, but she dropped out as host in support of writers as well. And we already talked about Stranger Things. There's a show called Loot, production on season 2 of the Apple comedy series starring Maya Rudolph, paused due to the WGA pictures at the Bel Air location where they were filming. Hacks, which is a popular show on HBO Max with Gene Smart. Season 3 also halted production for the same reasons. Now, NBC's Night Court is currently in production on its second season. The sitcom is off this week, but was supposed to resume filming next week. And they said, as a multi-camera comedy, that it is impossible without writers, given the amount of tweaks done ahead of during taping. So the series is expected to go dark for the time being, because there's no way they can actually do a comedy series like that without having their
Mm.
writers on set. And
Right.
then Billions, Cobra Kai mentioned. Yellow Jackets, another one that had their writers' room shut down as well, another popular Showtime show. And then we mentioned all the late night
Mm.
shows as well. So that's where we're at as far as everything. And if it goes on longer, we'll probably be talking about
I'm sure we
uh,
will.
more of these that are also.
Expect a lot more delays and projects being pushed back for sure the longer this goes on. So they're, hey, well, it'll keep us busy news wise, right? There's job
Yeah, so yeah,
security for us.
because we were talking, because like I even on G Reels, some people messaged me. They're like, it seems like there's like it's a slow news week, but there's like even you can't even negotiate new projects or new deals right now. Like you can't like they can't writers can't enter any negotiations whatsoever. So there's not.
Dang.
I mean, I heard that like a lot of these negotiations and like talks were even pausing even well ahead of the strike because they knew it was coming. So that's why if you're seeing, I mean, of course, on the websites that we all I have to work for, you have to kind of just scrounge news, like and there's features and stuff you can write to kind of compensate for the lack of big news.
Right.
So there's still stuff out there. It's just like you're not getting some of the typical, so and so is starring in this, and so is in talks for this, and because right now
Right.
it can't be.
Yeah.
So that's unfortunate, but
We did get lucky though. Just before all this, we did have a couple little news items, people being attached to things, and in particular, one sequel that we're going to get that was announced just before the strike began, and that was throwing this back to Vince Vaughn earlier. We can look forward to a Dodgeball sequel. You know more about that than I do, so I'll let you take the reins on that one.
So I love me some dodgeball. Have you seen that movie?
I have, but it's been a long time. I'm more than due for a rewatch. But yeah, I
Well,
do. Other comedies like 2000s is definitely among the better ones for sure. if you
I'm
ask
glad
me.
you said it's been a long time because this movie came out in 2004. So it's been a long
Right.
time. And I'm not saying the movie was a hit when it came out. And to me, if you would have struck while that iron was hot, maybe a year or two after, I would have been all about this. But it came out in
Right.
2004, and belated comedy sequels tend not to do that great, or they're not really that
I
good.
was curious what you were going to think about this whole news. We hadn't talked about your thoughts about it, just that it was being greenlit. So yeah, I can't wait to hear what do you think
So
about all
yeah,
this?
so like for everyone listening, it has been announced that Vince Vaughn will return to star in and likely produce a sequel to his hit 2004 comedy Dodgeball, scripted by Jordan Van Dina. The project is in early development at 20th Century Studios. It's not clear if Rawson Marshall Thurber, who wrote and directed the original film, will return in any capacity. It's also unclear who will be joining Vaughn in the cast. The original film
Hmm.
was stacked with talent, though, including Ben Stiller, Christine Taylor, Justin Long, Stephen Root, Joel David Moore, Chris Williams, Missy Pyle, Gary Cole, Jason Bateman, and William Shatner, as well as the late Rip Torn was also in the movie. Hey, I get why you might want to make a sequel to it. The first one only had a $20 million budget. It made $168 million globally. It was.
Right.
It's also a huge like kind of pop culture comedy. Like
It still is.
a lot of
Yeah.
people still quote it. I mean, I'm sure you still hear people say, "Nobody makes me bleed my own blood," like that.
Yes. If you could dodge a wrench, you could dodge a ball. It's
Yeah,
still
so
quoted. Yeah,
it's
that's fucking
super,
awesome.
it's a super popular like. I
Yes.
just think it's too late to do a sequel, but that's just me.
I find that's the case with most of these. Like, I guess like the umbrella term would be like legacy sequel.
Yeah. Now that's
Usually
how
the
they're probably
case.
getting away with this, right? They're like, oh, it's a legacy sequel.
Exactly. Well, oh yeah, they're hot right now. Everyone's doing them, but let's see how
Yeah.
Dodgeball would hold up. I mean, yeah, we've seen other legacy comedy sequels crash and burn. No, I don't want this movie to do badly. I mean, this is still a long way away, but I definitely am. I usually fall in the same spot as you when it comes to these sequels. Like, why are we getting back into this, especially ones that have like a concrete ending or that didn't never really called for a sequel in the first place.
Yeah.
But hey, maybe it'll put more people on a dodgeball. I'm sure more people are going to be rewatching it in anticipation. So if it brings more people onto the original, then that's all right in my books because that movie is genuinely hilarious.
Yes. Yeah. You know what? I just say look to these examples. I would say look at Zoolander 2.
Yeah,
I would
that's
say
exactly what I was thinking when I was saying that. We've seen these crash and burn. That was in my mind. Zoolander too.
say look at Anchorman 2.
I'm
I would say maybe look at The Hangover 2 a little bit, but then really look at The Hangover 3.
in the minority of that. That I actually like all the Hangover movies. I don't know. Yeah, I know. Even
Oh,
yeah, and that's you know what I don't know what it is. Maybe I haven't like looked at them with a critical enough lens. I just go into them enjoy a stupid comedy, but I've always liked the Hangover trilogy like thoroughly.
oh, this is going in your sizzle reel, by the way.
I'll take it, whatever.
What else? Neighbors 2, Sorority Rising,
Gosh,
not as good as Neighbors.
no,
Now I can think of one example off the top of my head that's good. 22 Jump Street's good. I think that might be a little bit different. It's an action comedy.
and
I
it
don't know.
wasn't as much time in between the
It's
movies
time
too.
between, right?
Yeah, one
You
was
know,
awesome.
I like when they're like, "Hey, we did a really good first one. Let's not touch it." All the girls from Bridesmaids have been asked so much about like why haven't we had a sequel to that, and
Yep,
they are just like, "Hey, it was a good experience. We loved making. They loved making that movie together. It was well received. It made money, and it was funny, and people loved it. But it didn't like scream, let's make another one." So it's like,
right. Didn't
so
Melissa
let
McCarthy just say something
yeah,
like last week about saying that she'd want to do another one if it was
yeah,
she'd be down?
she said she'd be down because like she
I
had so
forgot
much
about that
fun
until you
working on it.
brought it up. And
I
fair
think
enough.
Kristen Wiig and all them have been like, it was great. We had a good time doing it. Love those girls. Like they would do another project with them.
Right.
Like this is a lesser example, but I still think the movie is funny. Heat with Sandra Bullock and Melissa McCarthy made a lot of money.
That a sequel?
No, no, it didn't. And
Oh,
like,
okay.
okay, you're
I
like,
thought that's where you were going. I was like, what the hell? But okay, yeah.
no, but made money, was generally well received. Sandra Bullock and Melissa McCarthy were great together. They had fun making it together. Sandra Bullock's
Right.
like, I would do another movie with her in a heartbeat, but it's also not another one that screamed like, let's make another one. So I respect when they're like, hey, like we had this really good, fun first experience, and let's not beat it with a dead horse.
I respect that too, because that is definitely an approach that is not as common as let's, throw a little bit more money, make another movie and see how well it does, usually just for it to be like complete shit. I like the strategy that I don't know, like Evan Goldberg and Seth Rogen's approach, where they find the same group of guys and make a different movie together. Like that is always bulletproof, and they have so many great movies together. Instead of making a sequel to Pineapple Express, or
Eh,
this is the end or something. Like just make the same group of people and make another movie. And if you liked this one, you'll probably like this other one they're doing. That is always
Yeah,
a
I'm
template for
glad you brought. I'm glad you brought up that as examples because Seth Rogen is another one who is stuck to his guns about not making sequels to some of these movies. A lot of people ask him about a sequel to Superbad. He's like, "Hey, it was great.
why would you do that? Yeah.
We lightning in the bottle. I don't think we can like replicate that again." And it didn't really like another one. Didn't scream, "Let's make another one." Same thing
Right.
with Pineapple Express. This is the end. You're like, these were good one-offs. They were funny
Yeah.
and like we had fun working together. We're probably not going to have a era of James Franco and Seth Rogen working together again. That's a whole
No,
nother story for
that's
another
right. For
episode.
another day.
But I respect that, and I'm sure like it has to be hard because I'm sure like some studio heads probably getting in touch with their people, being like, "Yo, have you thought about like making a
Mm.
sequel to like Superbad or Pineapple Express or
Must be hard
like?"
to turn down, especially when you're offered something for it.
But my thing is, if you know that you really had this special thing and people loved it and it was well received and it did what it needed to do, it's a lot of these movies we mentioned are a part of like the pop culture lexicon now. Like they're forever remembered by people who either were around when they first opened or people who discover these movies later.
Right.
That's kind of what you want as a writer and someone that you're featured or an actor being featured in some of these things. Like you're part of the pop culture zeitgeist, and that's awesome. And like
Right.
they'll always be remembered in a positive light. Sometimes when there is an unnecessary sequel, your original film is also remembered along with an unnecessary sequel.
And it can
So,
add or more than likely detract to the legacy of what you've already created years before. That's just why it's just best to avoid these types of movies. So I
yeah,
definitely see where you're coming from with Dodgeball too. That hopefully it'll be on the positive side. But I mean,
yeah.
if I feel like I'm with you on this, like just not looking forward to that. Like why mess with perfection?
I agree. And I'm
Yeah.
glad you mentioned the legacy sequel thing because I can honestly see them in a meeting being like, okay,
Hmm.
let's not do a sequel, but how do you feel about a legacy
Legacy
sequel?
sequel. Yeah.
Those are all the rage today. And they'll just give out
Yeah.
examples. Like, no, look at
Newest
Top
Hollywood
Gun.
trend.
Look at
Yeah.
Top Gun Maverick. Look at that scream.
Yes.
Like, they'll just
But are we
throw.
really going to replicate that with Dodgeball? I don't know.
I don't think so. And like these, like, and, we're planning on having a legacy sequel episode down the line, which I thought was a great idea from you. But I think the reason some of these work, it's not a one size fits all kind of thing. Top
That's
Gun
right.
Maverick had, a lot of people have been wanting a sequel to Top Gun for a very long time. It had, I think, having the full support and dedication of Tom Cruise went a long way and making that work and making people excited for it. It felt like it wasn't unnecessary. It felt, what they came up with felt like a genuine continuation of that story that was believable and you bought it.
Mhm.
Uh, with Scream, there was an opportunity to like expose that kind of like horror film to a brand new audience while also catering to people that grew up with it.
Right.
And they were smart and did a mix of like, let's bring in new people, let's bring in the people that fans love from the original movies, and let's mesh that together. It's been a few years since Scream 4. Let's see what we can do. They had
Right.
fresh writers on this, like the guys who did Ready or Not. I mean, they were like really Scream fans. So like they wrote something that didn't feel unnecessary. And they were able to continue that another sequel right after that
That's right.
that didn't feel unnecessary. So I think like they're
Actually improved
it,
upon the other one, if you ask
I
me.
agree. I
Yeah.
agree. And like I think they're it's not a one size fits all. So what worked
Yes.
for Top Gun Maverick and what worked for Scream, and I know we have other legacy sequels we can discuss. What works for them is not going to always work for. Especially, I mean, I get nervous with comedy sequels, man, because like I mean, we talked before. Like comedy is, even though I love a good one, it's my least
Yes.
favorite genre to
Well,
watch.
the bar is always, I think, the lowest with those.
Lowest,
You know what I mean?
right, right. So I I remember when I saw Zoolander 2 and I was like, oh wow, you know,
No.
and for a moment it does diminish like movie that came before. It's like why would you like because it's kind of lumped in there now.
It's
And
also
then
so
over
shameless. You know why
right,
they're making it. It's because of one thing. It's green. It's
it's
dollars.
money,
There's
yeah,
no
yeah,
other reason. And
yeah,
that honestly, it's hard to get around for the most part for most
yeah.
movies.
But yeah, I do like Vince Vaughn. Forever
Yeah.
like Vince Vaughn.
We'll
So
see who gets added to that
uh,
cast. I guess
eh,
that'll
it,
improve or
it's
impact.
it's interesting too because for a while there last year there was a lot of talk about a Wedding Crashers sequel. I feel that same way about that. Like we don't need one. It's been too long
Yeah.
since the last one. That was also another lightning in a bottle comedy that people still talk about today.
Right.
Very very quotable and very like that people love it. And
Hmm.
when I heard those murmurs, I was like, oh, don't do it. Like
Hmm.
it's fine the way it is. But yeah, we'll see how it goes. It's in early development, so
Yeah.
hopefully, I mean, I hope for the best, but like
Hopefully it
it came
stays in early development or
yeah,
development hell.
it came out in 2004. I don't know how you think in like 2023, like, you know what? That movie needs a sequel. Like, ugh.
Totally. This little throwback to something you said earlier, but great use of the word zeitgeist. That is a hard word to throw into a sentence on a good day. So
Oh, thank you,
impressed
man.
there. That was great. I've never actually heard that word spoken, I don't think, before. I've just ever read it. So that was impressive.
I've been waiting for my moment to throw it in.
There you
Yeah.
go. Jumping ahead now, I was thinking
Mhm.
we could do this, introduce a new segment here before we get into trailers. But for those of you who are on TikTok who might be familiar with Duo, the breadbasket, who are known for their drafts, I was kind of inspired to maybe pitch a draft of our own. And today's topic, let Gaius pick, and we were going to draft, the two of us, a little team of horror icons, a sort of a snake draft where you'll pick one and I'll pick the next, and we can't have the same people on our team. And we'll see by the end
Okay.
what our little team looks like. And this could be something maybe we do in the future based on its reception. But I honestly, I love your topic because horror icons is one that there's plenty of examples of, and it's interesting to see who can curate, I guess, the better list, if you will, see what it's stacked up against the other person's.
Right.
But I'm excited to try this out because I always love that content from those boys on TikTok because they just will draft the most random sort of topic and then like
Yeah.
each take a pick of something. So I thought incorporate this into movies with what we do, I thought would be super entertaining and at least fun to do. So
Yeah,
yeah,
it is.
with that being said, there's really no holds bars. Whatever you want, ever an established horror icon, I'll let you have the honors of doing the first pick.
Okay. And before we start this too, I would like
Yes,
to say it's the second segment that Jackson's come up with. And I do want to mention this, so I haven't mentioned it to you. Someone did send me a message on G Reels that we should do that movie tagline
the tagline. I
game
was thinking about that.
tagline game again. Did it once and to do it again. So like
We can bring that
I
back
think
for
I think
sure.
we can throw that one back too. This is another good one as well though. You also told me to have some backups, and I'm hoping.
Yeah, that's right. Because we don't want to have the
uh,
same person on the team,
yeah,
right? So
but like my squad could be strong, and it just depends on
that's
who you're
right.
who you're calling in
I
first.
know who I'm going for first, but I don't know who you're going for first. So I'm interested to see.
All right, just because I can't let you take him from me.
Right.
I gotta throw my boy Michael Myers into the mix.
God damn it. Yeah. I mean,
I have to go with Halloween, man.
he's
Right
literally
away.
first on my
Number
list.
one.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I couldn't be surprised with him being taken. He is definitely one of the strongest players in that team. So, good for you. Could have seen
Yeah,
that one coming. And of course, I got to follow up that pick with my boy Jason Voorhees. If there's a counterpart to Michael Myers, it's got to be Jason. So,
well, he was on mine too, so I'm
yeah,
gonna scratch
run
him
the
on
game
off.
together. Oh yeah, not too bad.
Since I can't have Jason, then I will raise you a Freddy Krueger.
Great. You know what? A fantastic pick. Honestly, I don't know. I kind of came up with my list quite quickly, and I didn't have him on there, but fantastic pick.
Nice.
And honestly, like I think I like him better than Jason. I
Squad,
kind of stole
squad's,
that one.
squad's already looking pretty. Squad's looking pretty strong already.
Absolutely. Switching a little bit of direction, going a little bit sci-fi here, but I got to throw in one of my favorite horror icons is definitely the Predator. So I got to have him on there.
I didn't have that. That's actually cool.
Well,
You
thank
know
you very
what's
much.
you know what's funny? I was trying to figure when I was doing this. I was like, how do I? Oh wait, no, what? I'm gonna use. I'll tell you after the game's over because I was
Okay.
like, I was like, how can I use this person? But now I just realized how I could have. But I won't do it now because I didn't add them to the list. Just because we need some shit talking on our team, I'm gonna throw a little guy in there called Chucky.
I'm glad you brought him up because that's a fantastic pick. Also, one that's like kind of had a little bit of a resurgence in the last little year. We had
Yeah,
both a show and a movie.
yeah. TV's
Uh,
been making him huge actually, which is
how's
really
it been
cool.
going for him? Actually, I haven't really seen reception
Uh,
to that.
well received by fans and critics, and also highly viewed as well. So it's cool that he's having like it's funny because like that character had a little resurgence like in the straight to like video kind of market for the last few sequels,
Oh,
and
definitely.
then now on TV. So yeah, if you're other horror icons, if you're worried that you can't make it on the big screen, maybe pivot to streaming or some kind of TV series because it might work.
Yes. I actually saw for the first time the first Child's Play. I think it might have been
It's
last Halloween or maybe
so good,
before, and
so good, so good.
I thoroughly loved it. I had never seen it even as a kid on TV, like growing up. Maybe segments from the other ones, but yeah, the first Child's Play is a solid
Dude,
flick. I
there's a
really enjoyed that.
scene in
Chucky's
that
a great
movie
character.
that still gets me. And like, of course, we know throughout the whole movie, this thing has been like walking and talking, right? We already know that like something's up with the doll, right?
Yeah.
But
Yes.
sometimes you're in the character's position where they don't know. So when the after this little kid's been like, no, Chucky did it, Chucky did this, and the mom has like the box, and then the batteries fall out. So now she's
Yeah.
realized
Oh, that
now she
scene is
realizes
awesome.
that this thing's been like talking and shit with no batteries in it, but maybe they're included. They might be included. You never know. And then when she goes
Right.
to the doll and like flips the back, and there's no batteries in it, and then his head does that like turn. He's just like, "Hi, I'm Chucky. You want to play?"
Yeah.
That scene's always gets to me because it's just like you feel
Amazing
like what
scene.
she's feeling. Yeah, yeah,
Yes. I'm gonna get it just because it's one of those things I've seen once. Like, don't always retain everything. It's gonna probably be another watch I get in around Halloween time too, because I really did enjoy that.
yeah.
Sticking with dolls, because I had Chucky 2 here. I'm gonna draft him, but I'm gonna get his counterpart with Annabelle.
Oh, damn, that's good. I didn't have that either.
No, oh, yeah, no, she's
No,
if not Chucky, I'd go Annabelle. I think I might have went with Chucky if I had the chance to get him first, but now we both got dolls on there. It's interesting that they both get drafted, but Annabelle definitely more of a contemporary player, but and a little. I don't know about you. Even though I would have went with Chucky because he's more iconic, I think Annabelle has the creepiness factor to her.
yeah, it's
She's
true.
a scary bitch.
She is pretty
Yeah,
scary, bitch.
and
All
scary.
right.
She's based on a real thing too. I don't
Yeah.
like that. So
So to
3 for 3.
follow your lead on recruiting some female power on this game, and just in case we need a little like extra help with a little special powers, even though she's a little troubled, we're gonna add Carrie to our lineup.
Oh, that's a great pick. I didn't. She didn't make my draft here, but I love that pick. That is
She's the closest
fantastic.
thing we got to Jean Grey, man. So we're just gonna
Yeah,
have her.
that's
we
that's
have
such a funny comparison.
we have an X-Men on our team just in
That's
case, kind
right.
of.
And we got a classic and contemporary example of her too. So that is
Yeah.
awesome. Something that maybe some of the younger listeners at least know who she is, if not from Brian De Palma's original. Harry's great. And hey, Stephen King making the list here.
Yeah.
That's fantastic too.
Yes.
Gonna switch direct. We'll kind of keep it a little bit with the supernatural, but I got to go with my boy Pinhead, who's been one of my most
Oh,
recent
you
favorite
son
horror
of
icons.
you son of a gun.
I have a feeling he must have been on your list, was he?
He was.
Yeah,
He was.
I think he's maybe a little bit more of a lesser known in terms of like the more popular horror icons, but his look alone makes him one of my favorite horror figures in all the movies. So he's up there, and just the obscurity behind like what exactly he is and can do, I think plays a lot into like what makes him scary. But yeah, dude
I
with
agree.
a bunch of nails in his face
Yeah.
doesn't get scarier than that.
Intimidated. He comes straight from Hill. I mean,
Yeah, quite literally, he's like a
yeah,
prince down there.
yeah.
All right, last pick.
Last ones. All right. Since we need someone that can probably be good at playing some mind games, we're gonna throw in our boy Jigsaw.
I got him on here too. He was my third like doll pick if I wasn't sure where to go. That is a
Boom.
fantastic one too. And there's somebody that I want to pick here that is, I think I've said before, I'm no stranger to my praise for this character, if you will, or characters. I don't think I'm going to go with the Xenomorph. I would have loved to have it on this list, but I'm going to go with my boy Bruce from Jaws.
Nice. I like
Just to
that.
switch it up a little bit. So
I
yeah,
like that. I like that.
thank you very much. Yeah, I feel bad not having the Xenomorphs on there, considering how much I love them, but I think just some of my other guys are a little bit more recognizable. But that was fun.
It was
So
fun. I liked it. There's some people that I mentioned that were on the bench that didn't quite mention.
yeah,
I thought about Ghostface, but I was like, that could be anyone, though. I mean, it's not really
fair
like
enough.
one specific, unless I want to be real specific. Like, oh, I want Jill. That Ghostface
Yeah,
or Stu.
fair
Or Stu.
enough. Yeah, face would have been nice though.
And then the what I was thinking of that I guess I could have. I was like, how do I throw in the devil from The Exorcist? And I was like, well, I guess I could just say Reagan, but like, it's not
Or
really her.
Pazuzu, yeah,
Oh yeah,
I get what you're
yeah,
saying. That would have
yeah.
been super. The Exorcist crossed my mind, but I didn't ultimately write it down. But like, it's hard to beat. Hard to beat that one. That interpretation of possession is definitely one of the better ones in horror. Absolutely. I mean, the grandfather really of possession movies
Yeah, and
would have been
I
fantastic.
almost had Leatherface in there too, but I was like, he's a little too like.
That
a
would
little,
have been a fantastic pick too. I'm honestly I like Leatherface more than Jason. I kind of wish I like that.
I like how you drafted Jason. You're like,
I mean,
not quite.
he's got the star power. Don't get me wrong. He'll be a franchise player for
And
sure.
yeah, brute strength on top of that. He's also incredibly popular with fans. I mean, I think people like
Yeah,
Jason more than they like the would-be victims in those movies. So
totally.
there's that.
Oddly enough, the only person I wrote down on my little lists on the team here that didn't get drafted was Dracula, who I think is definitely one of the
Oh,
more. Yeah, I think that would have been a good pick, but
that
he's
was,
on the
that
bench. Maybe next time around.
was fun. I like that.
Yeah, that was a cool little segment.
I'm
We'll have to see.
actually proud of my little squad too.
You got a great little squad. So who you
Yeah,
went with? You got Michael Myers, you got
Freddy
Freddy,
Krueger, Chucky,
Chucky.
Carrie, and Jigsaw.
Pretty solid little list. And then I'm rocking Jason Voorhees, Predator, Annabelle, Pinhead, and Bruce the Shark from Jaws. I think we got a good little diverse little cast here.
We do.
Yeah.
I like that lineup for
Fun
sure.
little segment. Be sure to let us know what you guys think about that.
Yeah, what you thought
Have,
about? Yeah,
you have suggestions of what we should draft in the future, don't be shy. Let us know too, because I think that could be a lot of fun because you can cover like anything
yeah,
movie
that's true.
wise, right?
I knew if I didn't lead with Michael Myers, you were gonna take it, so I had to do it. Right.
You were actually 100% right because I would have went with him 100%. Definitely one of my favorites
Yeah,
for sure. And he's got that star power. But moving on now, we got some. This is really what I've been looking forward to talking to. We got some amazing trailers that dropped over the last week. Get
yes.
into. I'll let you. What do you want to start with? Because we got Dune
I mean,
had a trailer.
these are both. These are both. I mean, I guess highly anticipated for both of us, but I know that you're in the zone. I mean, especially for one of them. I mean, maybe both of them on the same level. I don't know.
Definitely comparable with Dune and Oppenheimer. I'm like just
Yeah,
as excited for both. I'd say maybe I'll give the edge. Oh, I don't know. Honestly, it's funny because like Denis Villeneuve and Chris Nolan are honestly like cut from the same cloth. Like I honestly associate them both so much as directors. Like they're both of the same time. Like they make, I'd say, like equal sort of like movies. They feel like very much like contemporaries of each other. But it's
yeah.
hard to really say who they give the edge to. But like I just love both so much of what they do. But what do you think of those trailers? I guess we can start with Dune, maybe.
I'm just excited to see a first look from it. I mean, they
Yeah.
were. I mean, we had all the kind of descriptions from like CinemaCon. That can only
Yes.
go so far, and then they released these like really nice key art like posters for it, and
Right.
I was like, it mean the trailer's coming soon, right? That's why I kept thinking. Then we finally got it. Definitely feels like it's gonna be a bit more like action packed than the last one.
Think you're right.
And I also think like since it's part two of part one, there'll be a lot less like kind of setup and just more like let's just get right into things. And that kind of seems like
Exactly.
that seems what the vibe is. It was interesting. I mean, Austin Butler looks unrecognizable in this. I don't even know how to describe what he looks like.
Well, have you seen the comparisons to him and the engineers from Prometheus? Because that is
Yeah, yeah,
killing
I
me.
did
That
too. That's
is
funny.
killing me.
That was
My
funny.
mind went to I Am Legend. I thought he looked kind of like the creatures from that, but he
I
looks
agree.
badass and intimidating. It's funny. So, have you seen the David Lynch Dunes?
Yes,
Oh, you
unfortunately.
have seen them?
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
oh God. So it's funny.
Yeah.
He's playing the character that Sting played in David Lynch's, which it's so
Oh
funny
yeah,
how different
that's
they look.
interesting. Yeah,
Yeah, they
yeah,
don't look anything alike. It's just kind of funny, but no, I'm honestly he's probably one of the things I'm most excited for from this movie,
yeah,
just seeing how his character looks. And apparently he's like an unhinged psychopath. I think he's the brother of Dave Bautista's character.
yeah.
Yeah, and apparently he's even more like relentless and sadistic. So I can't wait to see what he does with that character.
Yeah, I agree. And then we got, we saw Lawrence Pugh, who's also a new addition to the cast.
She's in the trailer, which I
Yeah, she's in the
liked.
trailer a lot. Trailer, all you Zendaya friends, there's more Zendaya,
Yeah,
or all you guys out there, kind of expanding on her relationship with Timothy Chalamet's character, which will be. I mean, I kind of like that we're gonna see more because like, she was always kind of interesting in the first one, and you want to know more, and like we
yes,
also knew we would be getting more of her based on like even like Zendaya was like right away in interviews like made it clear that she wasn't in that movie much, but there'd
Denny
be
too.
more. Yeah,
Yeah,
there'd be more for her to do in the second one, and then also it already looks beautiful. Like it just looks like it's. I mean, we were excited when we talked about like how they filmed the entirety in on the IMAX camera. So like that's
IMAX.
gonna look
Yeah,
yeah. So that's gonna it just looks really good. I'm excited. And I'm also I'm agreeing. It might be too premature. Maybe I shouldn't hype it up too much. I can potentially see just depending on this all depends on competition down the road.
right.
We could possibly have like a Return of the King situation with Doom Part Two, where like maybe it gets like yeah, first one got Oscar love. It was nominated and all that stuff, but maybe it takes home like
Some big ones.
a big one. Yeah,
Well, I'm glad you mentioned that because I was just about to say, I think, I mean, it could be a little bit biased because these are projects I'm very much looking forward to, but I don't think I'm alone in saying that I think Oppenheimer and Dune 2 are going to be competing for a lot, especially the technical awards. But I think you're right. Like with this being the second one, I see these being front runners for some of the major categories as well. Yeah, in addition to the technical awards. But these
yeah,
movies look like they're going to be competing with each other a lot. It's actually for each director, I wouldn't want to be competing against the other because they're both such titans of the industry right now and probably will
yeah.
be for the remainder of their careers. Love that we're both made Chris Nolan and Denis Villeneuve movies this year, but I think you're onto something there. We'll definitely see some more Oscar love for the second part of
Yeah,
this movie too.
I agree. Definitely agree. Yeah, yeah, I'm excited for it. November can't come fast enough.
No, very
um,
much excited for this one. I'm excited to just get a rewatch of the first one again because
that'll
I
be a good thing. 'Cause I haven't watched it since it
nor have
actually
I,
came out. Actually,
and
yeah,
I
I never
loved it.
really
I've
watched
just
it.
been saving it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but yeah, I'm
So
excited for it. So yeah, yeah, it's one to look forward to. And this other trailer, this is all you. I'm looking forward to it too. But
no
like,
doubt for sure.
I think everyone that listens now knows that like this is like your most anticipated movie of the summer, probably,
Very much so, if not the year. I mean,
possibly
like
the year. Yeah,
it's no surprise. Like I love me some Chris Nolan, always have. He's been the guy that got me and no doubt many other people like into movies for the first time. And like just the guy's a god in my eyes. And Oppenheimer looks like just another home run he's got on his hands. I like to see we got a little bit more. We got that other trailer earlier in the year, but wasn't a whole too much divulged. So we got a little look at some other characters, which I'm really excited about. Got a good look at Benny Safdie and his role. He got a
yep.
couple speaking parts. Matt
Matt
Damon was
Damon,
really big in that trailer too, and our girl Florence Pugh's in this one as well. Good for her. She's had a
busy.
massive year,
Yeah,
busy
yeah,
time of her career. She's on top of the world. She's looking good in it. Emily Blunt, we got some better looks at as well. And that
yeah,
isn't even like that's just a drop in the bucket of the cast of this movie. There's some huge A-listers we haven't even seen yet. Did see Jack Quaid in a shot though.
yeah.
I forgot he was even cast in this movie, so that was neat.
I kind of forgot to
Um,
actually.
there's not even any individual notes from this trailer that I had to write down. Like there's just so much. Like I just overall I'm like so overwhelmed with how excited I am for it and how great it looks. Like what I can't wait for is the score.
Gonna be epic, epic,
Yeah,
epic, epic. Oh,
like
speaking of scores, when I was watching The Dilemma, me and Owen were like flabbergasted because the score. This is a comedy, by the way.
yeah.
The
Who
score
did
was
that?
like Hans Zimmer, and I was like, "Were you bored? Were you bored?" Or in between like epic, epic films that he was like, "I'll do The Dilemma."
Yeah.
I was like, "What?"
He's a busy man. He's lent his talents to many movies, even like video games. Like
Yeah,
he's worn a lot of hats and has been on a lot of I just would never expected. Had that inkling, like when you mentioned the score for that movie, I was like, I wonder if Hans did that. I
yeah,
never would have guessed otherwise if you hadn't have said that though. But yeah, that guy is it's funny. He's working with Denis Villeneuve, right? With for
yeah.
Dune 2. It sucks that he can't be working with his longtime collaborator, Chris Nolan, but I think Chris is working with the guy he last did Tenet with, right?
Yeah, I
Who
think so.
they did really well together. So I have high hopes for the score there too.
Nice. Yeah, and
But
visually, this is gonna be. I think there's gonna be some things to look forward to.
yeah,
God, sound design. I mean, I'm just like just like thinking about how
yeah,
well that's. No, I've been accused of being too hard on Tenet because I was like, yo, I had to crank up the volume to hear the dialogue, and then all of a sudden it's just like a loud, like usually a sound that goes like boom, that kind of thing.
yeah, and then it
And like,
drowns out the words.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, that no doubt that was a frustrating part of that movie, definitely.
Yeah,
But
but and also Cillian Murphy has worked with Nolan a few times, but it's cool that he's gotten this opportunity to like to lead a Nolan film.
that's right.
It seems like from what I've read, he's very grateful. He's like, I'll do whatever he
Is
wants
asked
me
of
to do,
me. Yeah,
but I'm glad I finally get this opportunity to kind of lead like one of his projects, and that's amazing.
100%. And honestly, it reminds me of when Samuel Jackson finally got to lead a Tarantino movie
Yeah,
when he got Hateful Eight after
hey, wait,
collaborating,
yeah,
yeah, with him for forever, and he
yeah.
finally got, I think, top billing for that movie as well. So yeah, no, Killian's been working with him at least Batman Begins, so 2005. So they've been working together for a long
Oh,
time. I'm not sure if they did any movies before that, but good for him. That's great, and he looks fantastic.
by the
I
way,
have faith in
his
him.
scarecrow is very underrated.
Very much so. You're right.
He's like so good in that movie. Like
Yeah,
he's like just the right amount of creepy in that
totally.
movie.
I think he's even overshadowed by like another villain in that movie in Liam Neeson, right?
Yeah,
But
yeah,
he
I
is
agree.
fantastic.
Yeah, I would watch Batman again. So I was like, Katie Holmes, like, why are you so like? I know you're determined to get your job done, but why can't you read the creepy? Like, why are you
Yeah,
like? I was just like, why can't you pick up on it?
yeah,
Like, you're just going anywhere with him. Like, which like that scene before he like knocks her out with fear gas or whatever. Like,
yeah,
how she's so willing to like go alone with him. I'm like, man, there's something a little off about that guy.
yeah.
I know you're determined, but
No, he
maybe
does sell
not.
the creepy factor, but I think between him and it looks like there's been a lot of praise from people who have seen the movie and worked on it with for Robert Downey Jr. too for like Oscar contention. Which, as good as or as amazing rather as Nolan's movies are, they don't seem to normally generate acting nominations for. I mean, I'm sure he's had directed some people to nominations, none that I can think of off the top of my head, but
I'm trying to think. Yeah, I don't know.
none come to mind. But seems like breaking that spell because a lot of buzz for Cillian Murphy and Robert Downey Jr. in particular. So excited to see what they deliver for this movie. Not a
Well,
lot of Robert in this trailer
uh,
though.
I guess the one big one he did, Heath Ledger. Got him
Oh
too.
fuck!
Yeah, yeah.
Of course.
Writing down his filmography. I was like, wait.
Yeah.
Joker. Sorry.
Okay. Good
Yeah.
catch there. I don't know why it went over my head.
But I mean, but considering how many great movies he's made, I mean, just having that should be more on that.
Exactly.
Like,
And his
yeah.
performances are always fantastic in his movies. So
Yeah, agreed. So yeah, another big one to look forward to. Don't forget, guys, opening the same weekend as Barbie, so choose wisely.
choose. Yeah, I was gonna say choose carefully.
Opening.
In a perfect world, I'll go right from Oppenheimer to Barbie. Like
If I could
I
hop
hope
in
I
the
can see
boat
them both.
like that, that'd be really
I
great.
will.
A full on movie hop. Yeah, yeah.
Don't try to make plans with me that day. I will be at
Yeah.
the theater.
Because one of them is much longer than the other. I will say that.
Do we have a runtime for Barbie? I don't even know what to expect.
I don't know, but it's over 2 hours, then I think that's an issue. But I think it should be like
I think right the hour 45, 2 hour mark.
that'd be
well
perfect. Yeah,
yeah,
I'd be just fine with that.
totally. So yeah, so you're excited then too.
Yeah, I'm excited for it. Yes.
Could you not be, right? This movie looks
no.
fantastic.
If I told you no, you'd be like, "Well, I quit."
Exactly. Run it by yourself.
Run the show alone, then.
No, never. But no, of course, it's very excited for Oppenheimer, and gotta say, so I did start by saying that 3 for 3 on these trailers. I'm very much excited for this next one we have to talk about. And since you sent it to me, I don't think I would have thought to cover it otherwise because I didn't even see it until you pointed it out. But Gran Turismo to look at as well. That trailer was pretty bumping too.
Yeah, you know what? I didn't know what to think of because like video games, arcade games, stuff like that. Like some of them I do remember Gran Turismo. I didn't really play it a lot.
Neither did I.
So I wasn't sure what to think when I first watched the trailer. It looks fun though.
Looks real fun.
And also Eagle Eye. What friend sent me this? But it's gonna bother me. But they're like, dude, did you see the cast list for Gran Turismo? I was like, what? They're like, Jerry Hollowell's in it. I was like, well, who's Jerry? I was like, oh,
who's that? I don't recognize him.
She's Ginger Spice from the Spice Girls. So I was like, why is she in?
What the hell?
Why is she? I guess she plays the mom, the main character. And I was like, oh, well, cool. I didn't know that she.
I did not notice that.
Other than that movie Spice World, I didn't know she had acting aspirations, but so good for her. So I was like kind of in the dark about like what this could potentially be, but it looks fun, and I know what seems very promising is it Neil Blomkamp who directed District 9 and
that's right.
Elysium. His career, after District 9 has been like yeah, he was supposed to give us an alien movie that never came to
I just brought that up. I would have if you hadn't. I think he could have done really good with that series. It's too bad, but
I think he did that robot movie Chappie. I think he also did that too,
which I think was kind of mixed, middling reviews. I haven't seen it. I have seen District 9 and Elysium though, and I remember I have fond reviews for District 9. I think I need to give Elysium another chance. I just when I watched that, I just didn't really wasn't really in my I didn't really care that much when I went to go see it, and I just didn't really have any thoughts about it. But I'd like to give it another shot. But I think he's a director that has interesting style, shows a lot of promise. It's been a lot of years since he's done something significant, so I'm excited. I had no idea what he was saying in his career these days. I didn't expect to see his name at the end of the trailer, the beginning, whenever his name popped up on the screen. I was like, what the hell? This is Neil? So that's awesome. Didn't know anything about this movie. Not gonna lie, I'm totally guilty. When I saw that this trailer dropped, I was like, oh, another video game racing movie. I honestly wrote it off. So that's why I'm kind of surprised at how much I actually enjoyed the trailer.
Yeah. And for people that don't know, this plot is based on the true story of British racing driver Jan Martinborough, a teenage Gran Turismo gamer whose skills won a series of Nissan competitions to become an actual professional race car driver. Yeah.
Yeah, when I saw that too, I thought that was a aspect of this film that I think I could actually really get behind in terms of how much I'll actually enjoy it. Because I think they I just went in assuming that this was just going to be some sort of adaptation of the video game. And I was like, okay, I don't know how this is going to go, but when I saw that this is actually, I think it's really cool how they incorporate the game into the story and that it's actually in real life. I'm all on board with that. That kind of made me do a 180. So yeah, I can honestly say that I'm excited. I would check this movie out, and I wouldn't have 15 seconds before I saw the trailer. So.
Yeah. It's getting the August 11th release, so it's going to be
Yeah,
during the summer. Also, there are other actual actors in here, not just Ginger Spice.
that's
It's
right.
David Harbour's in this movie. Orlando Bloom, Simon Hansu. So a few recognizable names are in this movie as well. It looks fun. Like a little bit of an early 2000s vibe from it. The trailer a little bit
Hmm.
looks like it could be potentially fun. So yeah,
100%. I think the car play looks awesome and the cars look beautiful. I mean, I'm not much of a car guy per se, but like I can't help like the guy in me that seeing all these, decked out, souped up cars racing. Like there's something about that just I'm like is badass as hell looking. So
yeah,
I'm excited for that for
yeah.
sure.
So yeah, three for
Yeah,
three
so
in the
August
trailers.
11th.
Yeah,
Yeah, those are all it's a wicked week for trailers.
yep, I agree. All right, so here's the surprise one, and I'm doing this for our boy JC Merck, who wants me to have fun with this story because
Right. Okay.
it is kind of fun because it's
Bring it on. I have no
because
idea what you're about to
because it's
say.
utterly kind of ridiculous, and I can't believe I'm like looking into this. I was like, but here we are. So you
Okay.
know who Glenn Powell is? Uh, he's in Top
Yes.
Gun. He's in Top Gun Maverick. And are you familiar with who Sydney Sweeney is
Yes, I am. Of course, from a breakout star from
from
Euphoria.
Euphoria?
She's
So
up and coming talent. Yeah.
other than Zendaya, she's probably had the biggest career out of Euphoria. Like she has a lot of movies lined up. She's going to be in the Madam Web movie with Dakota Johnson, which is another
Right.
Mark
A
Sony
rising
musical.
star.
Yeah. Uh, so they are in this romantic comedy together called Anyone But You. It's an R-rated romantic comedy, and
Okay.
there's been a lot of images and pictures and videos of them not just on set together, but like
Oh,
they've been filming in Australia, and there's a
right.
lot of like, oh, let's go see like the animals together, let's go sightseeing together, a lot of videos of them like just having a lot of fun, which I thought was completely fine. And then I was like, wait a minute, doesn't he have a girlfriend? And then I looked it up,
Oh.
and he does have a girl. Hold on, well, he did have a girlfriend at the time.
Uh,
And then I was like, well, if I was a girlfriend, I'd be like, that's a little, seems a little, whatever. He's an actor though. Like,
yeah.
you
You
know,
got a bond with your co-star.
we got to
Sure.
bond with if you got to sell the relationship, you got to sell the relationship, right? But then I found out that Sydney Sweeney is engaged. She has a fiance. Didn't know this
I
at
didn't
all.
know this either.
And then I think he's just a regular dude. Lynn Powell's now ex girlfriend is a model. Her name's Gigi Paris.
Okay.
So there's like videos of like Lynn Powell like dipping Sydney Sweeney on like on a couch all playfully and lovingly, and like it's just like, all right,
Oh.
is this like a long game promotion for this movie that comes out in December? So then they walked the red carpet because they presented the movie at CinemaCon, and there's so many pictures in video like they're looking like lovingly at each other.
Well, I've seen a shot or two of them on the red carpet, and I was like, oh, okay. I honestly at first, because I had knew nothing of their dating lives, I thought maybe that they were there together and that they had hit it off. But then I came to find out they were filming this movie together. But that's really all I knew about the situation. So
Yeah.
interesting.
So then like I didn't say like this on the G-Real story, but basically I was like a still image of them just looking at each other, and I was
Yes.
like I said something along the lines like, "There's no way these two haven't banged. Like something's happened."
I remember exactly what you said.
This
Yes.
is there's a full-on Mr. and Mrs. Smith situation, and for all the kids that don't know what a Mr. and Mrs. Smith situation is, back in the day, Brad Pitt was married to a little someone called Jennifer Aniston, one of the stars of Friends. You all know who she is. And then he goes off and he's like, hey, I'm going to do this like action spy comedy with this actress named Angelina Jolie,
Hmm.
who's like a sex pot. And,
Right.
we have to really go sell that relationship because we're playing spies and we're married, but then like we both get hired to like kill each other. I'm just assuming that's what the conversation was like in their house. But don't worry about it. It's just a movie. Like, it's all pretend. Like
Mm-hmm.
you're
We
an
know how
actress,
that
right?
went. Yeah.
Like you're an actress, right? You know how this thing works. Movie stars. You're a
Right.
TV star, whatever. Uh, For anyone that has seen Mr. and Mrs. Smith, the big thing you can take away from that movie when you're watching it is their chemistry is through the roof, like amazing, like
Authentic. Yeah.
authentic. So while they were filming said movie, it became like known that like something was going on set between those two.
Interesting.
They both said that they never got together while they were filming it. They didn't get together till after like it was done and he was broken up with her. Lies, I call lies, massive lies.
Oh,
So so that is the Mr. and Mrs. Smith situation that we seem to be having with anyone but you here with Glenn Powell and Sydney
Hmm.
Sweeney. So like now apparently she's still with her fiance. There is pictures of them going to like some restaurant and they're pictured together, but like they weren't selling it enough for me. They weren't like holding hands or like being all lovey. They were just
Could
together.
be trouble in paradise, maybe behind the
So,
scenes.
so I was like, if you're trying to make me believe that you guys are still together, I need you holding hands. I need you hugging. I need you looking at him the way that you look at Glenn Powell
That's right.
when you're walking in the red carpet. That's what I need to believe, that you guys are actually together. Because in the midst of all this, Gigi Paris and Glenn Powell broke up. She posted like some Twitter thing that basically said like knowing your worth and like on to the next one. And
Oh, a little
uh,
shade action, eh?
now, some of her friends say that they have been breaking up off and on for like a while, and timing of all this is just weird timing, just promoting this movie with Sydney Sweeney, and then everyone assuming that like Glenn Powell and Sydney Sweeney are actually together. When I was talking about this with Merck, because he actually will send me like almost any update on this story because it's funny to him. He's like, man, y'all, you can't tell me that something's not going on with these two. Like look how she looks at him and look how he looks at her. And uh, my train of thought, because like I actually brought this up on another show, is it could be for promoting the movie, like, but it seems very early. That's why I
Right.
said this. That's why I said this is a very long game promotion for a movie that comes out in
Right.
December. It comes out in December, so like I was like, all right, maybe like when you sell it closer to when the movie comes out, like
Generate some hype. Yeah.
and I know this is a silly, silly story, Jackson, but I need to know, like, what do you think? Do you think that they are canoodling, have been canoodling?
Well, I mean, from the outside looking in, I gotta say, I mean, obviously, I don't know these people. My opinion, nothing in the grand scheme of things. But my perspective, like seeing just that couple shots that I saw them on the red carpet, it was enough for me who didn't know anything about their personal lives to think, oh, these people are together. Like it, I agree with you. Their chemistry looks like there's something brewing behind the scenes there because I was like, oh, that's interesting. Like, I never would have thought these people end up together. I could see it if that comes to light that they are hooking up or they end up getting together. I can't say I'll be surprised. As far I don't know if I have an opinion as to whether they are or not. One thing though, I would
Yeah,
not want to be Sydney Sweeney's fiance, especially as a not not
I
involved in
wouldn't.
the industry.
I
God,
feel sorry for him the most, who has to like
exactly.
get online. They're like, yo, they think
It's
you're banging your co-star. Are you banging your co-star? Like,
This has always been since I was a kid. I've always like grappled with this idea of being married to a film star and how I would handle them, like having like intimate scenes with like a co-star on scene, and like if that was something I could get around in a relationship.
yeah,
Absolutely not. That is not something I would ever want to deal with. So I feel for whoever's on the other side of this, and like I think you're really brave to date in Hollywood, especially
yeah,
other
yeah.
stars that are going to be like, on this movie hooking up with this person and married to another person in another movie and all the intimacy that comes in between that. That is no way. I'm not built for that sort of relationship. So I feel for Sydney's fiance. That sucks, but you know what? Definitely an interesting story. I never thought we'd be chatting about that.
Yeah,
There
yeah.
was a story behind those shots, so
Yeah,
that is funny.
I promised Mark that I would do it. I was actually going to do it last week,
No,
but
I'm glad you did.
I forgot to throw it in there, and I just pulled up another version of this story, and
Okay.
it reads how like silly this is. Right, so it's like per their offset hangouts, and not to mention family outings. Sydney and Glenn appear to be extremely close for two coworkers. Oh, and when the internet caught wind of their video trust fall, it sent Twitter ablaze. fans, went,
Oh,
fans went wild with speculation that the White Lotus actress and Set It Up actor were more than co-stars. Fiance is a restaurateur. His name is Jonathan Davino. I didn't mention him. He deserves his name to be mentioned
totally.
in this nonsense. That they are apparently just close friends according to them.
Mm, real close.
We'll say that Gigi Paris and all the kids out there who listen will understand this next move is the ultimate form of I don't want to be associated with you. Gigi Paris did.
Oh,
She unfollowed
unfollow.
Sydney
Okay.
Sweeney on Instagram. Boom.
Take that.
That is a big one. Oh, and body language expert Karen Donaldson suspects
Oh my God.
these co-stars may be more than just friends based on their eye contact, gestures, and more. And she explains that what our body language feels doesn't feel like it's a friend zone. So like, oh my god, you position yourself like 1.5 to 4 feet apart when you're in the when you're in the friend
Oh
zone.
my goodness. No, they're really looking into this.
Your intimate space or about 18 inches away from your body is often reserved for romantic partners, very close friends, and family. And they are saying that this is definitely not a friend zone relationship. I'm
Right.
so glad I found that so I can read it. Sorry.
Oh, that is awesome. That definitely adds a lot of insight into what could be going on. One thing, like as fun as it is to discuss this stuff, like obviously this is sure that this controversy like is a direct factor in Glenn Powell's relationship ending. I just hope that like for the sake of like if there is a healthy relationship involved, that this sort of thing isn't what ends it, because that would be really unfortunate. But like I said, you got to know what you're getting into when you play in this sort of this game, when you, especially being a non-industry person, being with somebody as popular, beautiful, attractive, and just well known right now, like Sydney Sweeney is on the rise, like obviously attracting a lot of attention, which is great for her. It's awesome that she's successful. But that comes
Yeah,
with this sort of thing. So hopefully, that doesn't screw up her relationship. But
I agree.
interesting story to say the least. Because
All right.
definitely, I agree. There's something going on there. It
So,
looks like anyway.
I want to read one more paragraph because
Okay,
it's.
sure.
Donaldson also says, talking about the picture that you were referring to, the
Yes.
looks. Donaldson says she's fully facing him and looking directly into his eyes as he's speaking, as if she's all consumed with what he's saying. And with him. If you pair the level of physical closeness with the way Sydney is looking at Glenn, it looks as though they may have had more than friend like feelings toward each other. Oh, well, thank
Yeah,
you.
one thing you can count on Hollywood is that it's rife with speculation. So
Yeah. Thank
this
you,
is
body
no
language
exception.
expert Karen Donaldson, for filling
Yes,
us
thank
in
you
on
for your
like,
work.
well, now I know exactly how far apart friend zone is. I didn't even know that.
There you go. You can come out of this learning something.
Yeah.
And
Oh,
hey,
oh, what were you gonna say?
I was to say we can please stick to this story and see what ends up happening. But
Yeah, for sure. But on the business side of this, like on the movie side of it, just to kind of bring it back to what we normally talk about,
yeah,
romantic comedies theatrically, especially R-rated ones, having a tough sale. They don't really, in theaters at least lately, they're not what they used to be. So if this is a studio thing, if it's Sony being like, hey, like let's play up this kind of like flirtatious thing throughout the whole press tour, and maybe that'll get butts in the seats by December. I
yeah,
can see them kind of doing that. Like,
yeah.
but if it, I mean, we're all speculating. But if it affects your personal relationships, is it really
Yeah,
worth it?
that's where you have to draw the line, definitely. I don't think the juice is worth the squeeze there.
Yeah,
Never like I get obviously there's people that like analyze this stuff for a living, and especially studio heads that have marketing strategies for a reason. But me as a consumer of this stuff have never been a person to like buy into the pre-marketing or this sort of stuff marketing, like by getting your co-stars to like, look all lovey-dovey in
yeah.
anticipation of the movie. That's never been something for me as a viewer that has like convinced me to go see something or buy into the authenticity of their relationship. It's not something that I always thought it was just an interesting tactic, especially with people that have marriages or
Significant others.
significant others. Yeah. So
Now,
interesting play for sure.
it can also be like Jonathan DeVito, her fiance, might be very confident and not care. You know, he
That
knows
could be the case too.
he knows he has Sydney Sweeney. But on the other hand, I was him, and I'm just speaking as myself. I'd be
Yes.
frustrated if I had to deal with this all the way through December. Like everyone being like, "Are you guys together? Like, what's going on? Bang your
Right.
co-star? What's
And
happening?"
it's right. And that social media and even just news media, like having to see all this stuff and for months and you're associated with it, that would not be fun, not be shoes I'd want to be in either. So
And
I,
can you imagine if this comes out and it flops?
oh
After all that, like
yeah,
pre-flirtatious buzz to trying to generate all that,
that
and it
would,
just doesn't do well.
yeah,
Uh,
that'd be
you know what?
unfortunate.
But you know what? If it works in the same way that, so a lot of the reason Mr. and Mrs. Smith was such a hit was because it was like, oh, that's that movie that they met on. I think he might
Right.
have cheated on his wife while they were making it. How good is that chemistry? A lot of it was that. And now this wasn't Brad Pitt and Angelina going out a lot and like kind of like playing for the cameras the way this is. I mean, they did get some shots of them, but it wasn't like this. Uh, so a lot of that buzz was generated just from like you're just reading stories like this is how they met on set. something happened on set, did it not? That was a lot of the set opening weekend was a lot of the reason that movie hit the way it hit.
Okay.
It didn't happen to be a fun, like, action comedy, and they are both very
Right.
good in it as well. You haven't seen it, like, the things that, like, you'll notice right away is that they instantly have, like, killer chemistry. They are like,
Good one.
yeah,
I
yeah,
actually have not seen it. I've seen like bits on TV and I'm very familiar with it, but I've never actually watched
yeah.
the
That's the
movie
selling. It's the selling point. The selling point
for
is like
sure.
how well they work together in it.
Okay.
So maybe there might be a curiosity thing here for anyone but you come December. But if I was Jonathan DeVito and it flopped, I'd be like, yo, you put me through all this.
Yeah, just for that. Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah. There you
interesting.
go,
Thanks,
Merc.
Merc, for
There you go,
yeah.
Merc.
Yeah. Thanks for that story. That was a good one.
We covered it like a couple of gossip little ninnies just for you.
Hey, amidst this writer's strike, we might have to kind of turn to these sort of stories and make up the
We're gonna
content.
be scrounging TMZ.
Exactly.
Like, who got a DUI today? Let's talk about that.
Yeah. There you go.
And, okay, well, I'm glad we did it because that was kind of fun.
No, that was good.
Because I was
I'm
like,
glad you saved that one because
I
I
was
was
almost
really
discovering it as I was reading more about it. I was like, oh, they talked to a relationship body language expert. Cool.
they're really on board with that story. But oh, that
Yeah.
was fun because I really was in the dark on that. So that's fun to not be in the know.
Sometimes, yeah, right. That bring us to box office, or do you have?
That's what I was about to segue to. Because speaking of not being in the know, I haven't really heard any figures for how Guardians 3 did this opening weekend. So I know that you have that prepared. So
Well, we
let's hit us
have.
with how do we do with our predictions?
Oh, we were off. Oh, you were closer to me because I said
Both of
150.
us, eh? Yeah,
We
okay.
were both off.
Yes, I said 135.
I'm gonna ask you what you think of this after I give you all the numbers to see if we have. I feel like we have a good news, bad news situation here. So
Okay.
I said 150. Didn't get close to that. Domestic opening was 118 million dollars.
Okay.
So
Wow.
below the 147 of the second movie, but above the 94 some odd million dollars that the first one opened to. I The global opening is 282 million so far, which is a good
Jesus.
yeah, right.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, can't
yeah,
be mad at that.
I was expecting bigger, especially given the good reviews. It also got
Right.
I think an A cinema score. So people that saw it did love it. It depends on who you read or who you're looking at on social media.
Yeah.
On the one hand, a movie opening north of $100 million, it should be considered like a good thing. This opening isn't too far off from like the holiday weekend opening of Ant-Man and the Wasp. And I would argue that this is a bigger property than Ant-Man and the Wasp.
Yeah, that's an interesting comparison for sure.
This is the first time during a Marvel opening where I think maybe we are seeing a little bit of the Marvel fatigue.
Really?
And even your prediction was bigger. It was lower than the second movie, but it was still bigger than like. I mean, I think in the end, like the movie's gonna do well, but
no doubt.
I think someone wrote opening like this to kick off the summer movie season isn't big like start. Basically, it wasn't something to roar about.
Right. A
But
lot of money in it is, but like compared to what they were anticipating and what trends have been, it's definitely on the more disappointing side.
yeah. So what are your thoughts on the opening? Are you feeling that as Marvel? Is it superhero fatigue? Is it Marvel fatigue? Like,
I mean, I think those things go hand in hand. Like Marvel and superheroes are kind of synonymous. I guess they're not the only. They don't have the monopoly on superhero movies, but it seems like they're the most present at any given time. I definitely think that it is catching up. It's reaching I don't know if it's at its boiling point yet because it's still obviously doing great financially. I absolutely unequivocally agree that this is a symptom of the fatigue. I think the fatigue has been present in a lot of other aspects, maybe before the box office. Remind me again the budget of this movie.
Oh, let me look it up because I'm pretty sure it's.
I'm
pretty sure it's hefty.
Yeah, like north of 100 million.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's and then that doesn't even include like marketing costs.
Yeah.
$250 million.
This movie was $250 million
to make,
and you said
that doesn't include marketing spend and all that.
Holy shit! I don't Obviously, I'm the last person to criticize finances behind a movie, but like, where is all this money going into? I don't know. And like, this is not the first hefty, pricey Marvel movie, but that's crazy to me. I never would have guessed it was anywhere near that.
Well, it
It-
is X heavy. I mean, it's a lot of
yeah,
money. Yeah, it's a lot of money.
it is. But I mean, you've yeah, I don't know. I'd be curious to see where it's going, but definitely not where I'm sure Marvel execs are just sweating even more than they have been since Ant-Man and even before that. Like the fatigue is definitely starting to rear its head. But then again, I'm sure there's any number of other factors that wouldn't really consider other variables that maybe have kept people from the theaters. That being said, this is you mentioned at the beginning of the episode. Guardians is a huge property for Marvel, even as a standalone series, even like property like in the Marvel universe that I kind of enjoy more than the other ones.
Yeah.
Interesting to see that it didn't, blow the doors open when it came out, but we still have another. We'll see how it does on the second weekend.
It has no competition this weekend, so I
No,
mean,
there. So yeah,
it'll be interesting how what the drop will be. I don't even know.
that'll
Um,
be I think the more telling factor as to what the perception of this movie is going to be. Gotta say though, definitely surprised that it came in lower than my prediction. I thought I was going to be lowballing it and they meet somewhere in the middle. I would not have expected that it went like that much lower than like so $17 million lower than what I'd guessed.
yeah, I mean that is like someone just pointed out. You look at the number, like really just look at the number between the second movie and this one, opening the just under 30 million less than Guardians 2. That has to show that there's some level of maybe the rush factor for these movies might be dipping a little bit.
Yeah,
Um, and like maybe there's time. There needs to be. This is the time to create more space between them. I
yeah,
mean, because now, I mean, it's not even just the movies now. You got TV shows and so many things you have to keep up with in order to like be on top of the MCU. Uh,
right.
I mean, we talked about the simpler time it was just rewatching Iron Man, and like it's just like, oh, like this was the start of this, and there wasn't so much universe building even in that, like so.
Eventually this stuff catches up to you and the viewer, and you got to juggle. Is it worth going to see this movie when I haven't seen the last two or three entries? Am I even going to really be up to date on this one? Like that going to weigh into some people going to see it, but didn't think it would have been this much. But interesting trend, to say the least. I am surprised at those numbers. I can't lie. Even though I expected lower, I didn't expect it quite that low.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's some room for concern a little bit,
I think it'd be foolish not to be at least a little concerned, especially box
because
office
this should
aside.
have been there. This should have been their surefire winner. Like,
Yeah,
you know,
yeah,
like
definitely.
like if I'm the Marvels, I'm worried.
Oh, I'm worried long before this. Now I'm fucking panicking if
All
I'm
right,
him.
because if this movie with good reviews and a likable cast that just about everyone likes, I know Chris Pratt sometimes is on the depends on who you talk to, but
Right.
like if that opens less than its predecessor,
That's a
and
great point.
you get
Like this property.
the Marvels, and there's a whole lot that people don't like with that. I wonder, yeah,
Interesting forecast to say the least. Going to be an interesting year for Mario, at least for the MCU. I gotta say though, like I think at least they are getting a little bit ahead of this, and they've already acknowledged they're changing their game up a little bit going forward. Going to be hammering out less content, focusing more on the quality of it. I think that's a little bit late, but at least they're making that change to the universe. So that obviously hasn't caught up yet. That these movies have all still been developed since they've kind of announced this change in their strategy. At least it's a step in the right direction because they're not going to be able to afford these misses for too long. Like I don't know the figures. Maybe I'll look this up in anticipation for the next Marvel release, but I know they lost some money in Phase 4, definitely with more films than others, but they can't be draining too much money for too long. I know some have probably made up for that,
yeah.
but
Because I don't think Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania turned a profit, and if it did, it was very little. 'Cause it costs a lot of money to make too,
which is why I'm
and
so surprised that this movie's so hefty. Like, why is it $250 million? You think it'd be scaling back a little bit.
But I guess you got James Gunn, you got like a
You got
pretty
all the factors that should work.
likable
Yeah,
ensemble cast. Like we talked about it the last time when we brought the movie up. I think this franchise, or at least it seemed like, even people that don't even love the MCU seem to like the Guardians
right.
movies.
Yep.
And the reception to the movie has been pretty positive. Like people that seen, I mean, I think it has like a 93% audience score. I think what's happening here is that maybe this didn't win over people who were casually interested, and then maybe there's some people who have kind of taken a pause on these movies for a bit, and there wasn't a rush factor to go see it opening weekend.
I think you're
uh,
right on that.
I think I was also told like the post credit in credit scenes, I think there's two or three of them, don't really, I mean, this is a pretty self-contained movie that is like
Right.
because it's finalizing like this franchise. There's not. I was told that James Gunn had a lot of like a carte blanche, basically, to like make this more about the movie itself rather than what this sets up in the future, because they
Right.
wanted to have like a finality to it. There's that. That's it's good, but I don't know. It's crazy to think, because I really, yeah, I'm
Yeah,
surprised when I saw the numbers. I was like, oh wow, you know that's I mean,
far
weird to
from
call.
great.
It's weird to say a $118 million opening. It's like questionable. Like any other movie, if this was any other movie, we'd be like, that is huge.
That's right, but it's
But
not any other movie. It's the MCU.
yeah,
I think
I
that's cause for concern.
think so. The good news for Chris Pratt is that he has the number one movie and number two movie in America. Uh, Super Mario Brothers finally dropped to second place in its fifth week after spending 4 weeks at number one. Made
Damn.
eight made $18.5 million this weekend. Its biggest drop so far since opening, 54.6%. But I think some of the families went off to go see Guardians of the Galaxy, so that's probably why there was a bigger drop off. But no one's crying over there at Universal, because the movie has made $518 million domestically to date and $1.1 billion worldwide. Uh,
Welcome to
Good
the
for
billion
you.
dollar club, Super Mario Brothers. That's fantastic company to be in.
Yep. Or good news for Evil Dead Rise. Even though it did drop 51.5% this weekend, it grossed $5.8 million over the weekend, bringing its domestic total to 54.2 million. So domestically, it has passed The Last Evil Dead from 2013.
Wow.
And we officially have the first Evil Dead film to gross over $100 million worldwide. This has grossed $115.2 million globally. So
And I'm
we're
pretty sure
definitely getting
that's
another one.
yeah, I'm pretty sure that's close to where you said it would end up, is it not? I think you said it would smash that 100 million and
Man, yeah,
end up somewhere in that ballpark. So congrats to you.
you know how Warner Brothers is celebrating it making so much money in theaters, is already kneecapping its box office potential by releasing it on digital tomorrow. So I mean, you can watch it at home very soon.
Okay.
I
This
don't
is
know
wait,
why.
Evil Dead?
Yeah, Evil Dead Rise.
Oh, wow.
We just saw this movie.
Yeah.
It's
That's not
only
much of
been
a theatrical
it,
run.
it's been out 3 weeks. I mean, I don't know why you wouldn't just let it run as long as it could to make as much money as, I mean, yeah, hey, yo, you have $115 million globally. It's
Nothing to be
already
upset
passed.
about.
It's already passed its budget, like then some. So I mean, but it just seems weird to like
It's funny.
It's only been out 3 weeks.
It's funny not being a studio exec and like not having any insight into the decisions they make, because this is something that me and my buddy Cam are always going on about when we hear these what we call stupid decisions from as an outsider. But you gotta give your head a shake as to why they wouldn't let that go further. And this is just a drop in the bucket of the examples of weird decisions studios seem to make with their movies. But it's interesting being an outsider and not knowing what goes into these decisions, because it just seems so straightforward to us that why would you not just let this go another couple of weeks and rake in all the box office dollars you can? Why cater to streaming so much? It's just, I know that we'll know the answer, but it's clearly got to be a little bit harder to make these decisions than it seems.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I was like, when I saw that, I actually saw that on Twitter. They were like, Evil Dead Rise, like, own it on digital tomorrow. I was like, it's only been out 3 weeks in theaters.
Three
I mean,
weeks.
let
That is
it. I mean,
insane.
Scream came out on digital last week, and I felt like that was enough time. I mean, it was like
Oh, big time.
they waited a bit to like release it to Paramount Plus.
I agree.
It made its money, and then it kindly said goodbye, and then like we're like, now you can watch this at home. Uh, but yeah, that seems weird. But, like remember when you were younger, you had to wait months to get like a movie to come out for you to have it at home.
That's
Like
right.
now it could be like 3 weeks, and like like just watch this in the movie theater, in a packed movie theater. And now, like, yeah, I mean, granted, I would love to have it to watch at home. That's cool.
That's
But
right. I mean, I'm gonna wait for that physical copy anyway. That's how I roll. So like,
yeah,
it'll still be a while ways before I get that. Actually, I mean,
we're not getting the physical copy of this until July, by the way. So I don't know why we
mm,
can't just like get it
that's a
out.
that's a totally appropriate amount of time, if
Yeah,
you ask me. But
I agree.
like by that time, we still wouldn't even really feel like due for the rewatch until maybe a little bit later. So, but
Agreed.
whatever
Yeah,
they decide what they decide, and we're just here to watch.
yeah. Warner Brothers is full of wonky decisions. So whatever.
Yes, they are, and I'm sure they
you,
will continue to be.
you guys do you. As far as box office predictions, guys, there's nothing opening. We didn't feel like we had the demo to predict book club the next chapter. I wouldn't even know how to go about predicting it anyway.
Nah, a little light week for releases.
I'm low key curious to see how much that first one made though. Because
I'm looking it up. Yeah,
because I just want to know why we have a sequel to it, and maybe I can figure
it
out.
must. Yeah, must have all right for itself.
All right, it did. All right, I can see it. It opened to
Okay,
13.5 million dollars in 2018, legged it out to 68.5 million dollars domestic, and it made
nice.
104.4 million worldwide. Oh man,
Okay,
okay, that's why we
fair.
got a sequel.
All right,
I'm happy to explain why you got a sequel. I'm just not interested enough to predict what it's gonna
cover.
make.
Yeah,
Predict what it's gonna make this week.
but the following week we'll have a big release to cover and predict its box office performance when Fast 10 drops May the 19th, if I'm correct.
Yes, it is. That's a good little setup to tell you what we're going to be doing next week. We will be
Totally.
predicting the opening box office for that. My guy Ty, who's been trying to get on the show for a bit now, is going to be a guest on that episode, so he'll probably play some predictions with us. And
Awesome.
we're gonna look back at the Avengers of the Car World franchise,
That's right.
franchise that is the Fast and Furious franchise. Thought it'd be fun to have like a little special episode to talk about its humble beginnings, about a ragtag group of people that were stealing DVD players
That's right. In their
to
Honda Civics.
to world class superheroes over the span of now 10 movies. It'll be a fun kind of look back at how we started there and how we got to where we're
I
at.
think it'll be a great episode covering the trajectory of that
Yeah,
franchise. So
yeah. So look
yeah,
forward to that. That'll be a
yeah.
fun talk. Something to look forward to. I'm actually, even though the writer strike stuff sucks, I'm glad that they kind of didn't have like a ton of like key news to talk about, so we got to play
I
around with this one a bit.
yeah, me too.
Yeah, so if that continues, we will continue to think of stuff to kind of throw in the mix here. News is light. And that if that includes our investigative reporting on Glenn Powell and Sydney Sweeney.
I'm all on board with it. It's nice. It's a good little break from delivering the breaking stuff, which is always fun, of course. But no, the speculative journalism is always a cool
Yeah,
little thing to try out too. So I had fun.
right on.
It was a good episode.
Yeah, yeah.
And
Sometimes we got to pivot.
yeah,
Yeah,
I think that's all we have for you guys today. There
yeah,
was
it is.
still an eventful week. Hey, we still got right around the same length episode, just talking about some other stuff, and I had a blast, honestly.
Nice. Yeah, I
Yes.
enjoyed this one too. It was fun.
Well, thanks as always, Gaius, for running through this movie content with me. Had a blast. And thank you guys if you're still listening to this episode for making it through to episode 95 of Back to the Blockbuster. You guys know the drill by now, where to find us anywhere on social media at Back to the Blockbuster, wherever you guys get your podcasts. Same name, especially if you guys happen to be fans of good pods, check us out over there. Been a great time talking news with you, my man. And we check in next week when we break down the Fast and the Furious franchise. And looking forward to that, my friend.
Yep, it'll be a good one. It's weird not doing 2 episodes with you today. I have to say that.
Yeah, I know. This is it. It is.
I've gotten used to our long Mondays together.
That's right. Me too. But hey, no doubt we'll have some more of those to get through here soon.
Yeah, for sure. Thanks for listening again, guys. Peace.